this is Jamie with leto.x.crossstitch, and I'm back with another Flosstube episode. In this Flosstube, I'm going to be going through traditional Flosstube content. So I'm going to be talking through what I completed in December, my fully finished objects, my completed patterns, my whips, all that fun stuff. And then at the end, I'll talk to you about some of my plans for 2026 and also specifically for January. So the first part of the video, I thought I'd start with announcements. I don't have anything crazy or revolutionary to share. I just think that as I've been doing Flosstube, kind of by the seat of my pants, just having fun and trying to see what works for me, what I have decided going into 2026 is that I'm going to aim to put out there 2 Flosstubes a month. So one of the videos will be your typical Flosstube with, you know, what I have finished, what I'm completed, what I have in progress, my plans, all that fun stuff. I'm going to aim to do that once a month. And then I'm also going to try to focus on one other cross-stitch, of course, related topic to go alongside that monthly video. So the first idea I had was to do a 2025 finish parade. I don't have a lot of whips, so I think finish parade would be a better option. So look out for that later in the month. But that's really it in terms of announcements. Just that I have a bit of a structure and a plan going into 2026, and I hope you will join me for that. I guess this also falls under announcements, but I want to do a giveaway. And I ordered the Chantel 141 mystery ornament box this year. I got it in the pre-sale. I received my box and it has 5 different ornament patterns and then also the like wood finishing pieces that you need in order to finish them into ornaments. And so I got several designs that I absolutely loved. And a couple of Santa designs. I like Santa, but fun fact about me, I did not grow up believing in Santa. Don't worry about me. Christmas was still fun and magical as a kid, even without Santa. It's just not something that my parents wanted to teach us, and so my brother and I grew up without Santa, and so I have like not a weird relationship with Santa, but I don't love Santa the way that some people love Santa. So I got several Santa designs. They were all beautiful, but I think I can part with one of the Santas because I can't have an abundance of Santas because I just know that I won't stitch them. I do know that there's plenty of people out there who love Santa. So what I would like to do is offer this Teresa Kogut Santa. He's called the Giver, which I thought was perfect for a giveaway. And what I would like you to do is, I've started a Google form that's in the description box on YouTube, and all you have to do in there is put your username on YouTube and your email address. And I will not use this email address for anything other than contacting you if you are the winner of this giveaway. So 1, please please fill out the Google form that has your username and your email. And 2, if you could leave a comment below that says something like, I love Santa, I like Santa. Basically use Santa in a sentence. And I will choose randomly from one of those comments to award this lovely giveaway. And it is open to anyone in the world. Since it's just a piece of paper, I'm happy to ship it anywhere. If you could, like I said, just fill out the Google form, leave a comment below. Don't mention anything about giveaways or anything like that because I think it can attract bots and other weird things. So if you could just put, I like Santa, I love Santa, I want Santa in your comment, I will select from one of those. Let's leave this open until January 15th so that there's plenty of time for commenting. And after January 15th, I will announce in the description that the giveaway is closed, and I will select a winner and send this, contact them in order to send this off to them. So, confession, I filmed about an hour's worth of content 2 days ago, and and then realized that I didn't fully plug in the microphone into my camera that I use for recording these videos. So it's an hour's worth of video with no sound. So I'm hyping myself up to share all of these things again over with you. I've unfortunately ended up cutting some parts because I just like opening up some packages. The like spontaneity of it isn't there anymore. So I'm sorry, this is like a pared down version of the original, but I still am here to share what I completed in December of 2025, and I will start with my fully finished object. So I have technically 2 fully finished objects, and I will be sharing images of this all over the screen so that you can see them. But I took a class as part of the Jingle Ball with Liz Matthews, where she did a snow globe, a cross-stitch snow globe project, and she shows you how to silhouette your cross stitch that you've stitched on cloth, either Aida, linen, or jobbling, whatever other fabric, and she shows you how to, a technique that allows you to then silhouette the design really closely without your fabric fraying or your floss coming undone. It was a really fun class, and I was excited to create these little snow globes for my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and I ended up doing 2 different snow globes. So one is like a photo snow globe with pictures of my adorable sweet niece, and then the other is a little cross-stitch snow globe where I used a pattern from the Prairie Schooler called Button Up, and I switched some of the colors so that it would look a little bit more consistent with like the clothes and the winter gear that my niece has, and I stitched those. I only stitched 2 of the squares from that button up pattern, which has 9 squares, to go in the snow globe, and I made a photo snow globe, like I said, a cross stitch snow globe, and then I felt like it needed a third thing. There needed to be a trio, so I went back to the button up pattern and I stitched the sentiment that was on there. And I made these tiny, cute, adorable little pillows. These are the first pillows I have ever made. It was a learning curve trying to figure out how to do those, like do the final stitching and then to like adhere the chenille trim around it. But I think they came out really cute. And so my mother-in-law put it all together. I sent her all the items so that she would have them, and she put it all together and she sent me a photo, and they really loved them, and I was just really excited about them as well, and so I'm glad that they liked them. I'm glad that they enjoyed them. So those are the 2 fully finished objects that I had for December, and I'm saying it's 2 because I stitched multiple things from the one pattern, and I made 2 finished. In addition, in December, I completed 3 patterns, and I'm so excited to share these with you. I decided in December that I was going to focus solely on Christmas things, Christmas projects, Christmas gifts, and so I gave myself permission to not really think about, you know, the birthday start that I have this year or the oldest whip that I'm working on. I just wanted to have fun with Christmas. I did the same in October for Halloween, and I think I'm probably going to do it again next year, where October will be just Halloween, December will be just be Christmas, and then of course there'll be other fall and winter things in the months around them, but for December I focused 100% on Christmas things. So for my first fully finished, no, not fully finished, for my first completed project, I will show you this guy. So isn't he adorable? It's a kitty cat, and he has a candle. I'm gonna pull it back here so you can see the color a little better. And if you see me looking this way, this is where my monitor is, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to make sure that everything's in frame and the colors are somewhat normal. If I get closer, the colors go crazy, so I apologize for that. Yeah, see, I don't know why the camera does that. But pulling back here, you have like a pretty true to color rendition of how this pattern turned out. I stitched it on 18 count Mystic Gray. I think it's by Zweigart. And it's a pattern from Lindy Stitches. It's called Not All Were Sleeping, because there's a kitty cat and a mouse walking around the house with their candlesticks and their Ebenezer Scrooge nightcap. I thought that was so adorable. The pattern calls for DMC, I think all DMC, and I ended up using many of the suggested flosses, but I pulled a few, I pulled from my stash, and so I ended up switching out the red, the pink, and I think the light teal in the wreath up there, because I just wanted to pull from my stash. And since this was such a little guy, I knew that I had enough floss in my stash to accomplish this, and I think it turned out really cute. I think I'm going to make him into an ornament. But I think I want to do more of a 3D kind of pillow ornament versus a flat rectangle. I don't know what it is about rectangular or square ornaments hanging on a tree. I don't love them. So I think if there's a little bit dimension to it, a little puffiness maybe, I will like that better. And so I will aim to finish this probably next year. But I do want to make this into an ornament. I love it. I love this black cat. Anything black cat related reminds me of my Islington, who is a black cat. We call him Izzy. So yeah, this is my Izzy cat, and I just completely love this pattern. I think it's so adorable. Okay, so then the next completed pattern that I have is this beautiful pattern from the Blue Flower. It's called Christmas Cheetahs. I stitched it on 18 count, picture this plus, in Whirlpool color. I don't know what the called for fabric was on this, but it was like a kind of bluish teal. And so I went to 1, 2, 3 stitch, and I just found a blue that I wanted to try. And this Whirlpool ended up being really beautiful. I love the cheetahs on this. This guy is really, sentimental to me. This design, earlier this year, my husband and I got to go to Africa for one of my great friends' weddings, and we did a safari while we were there with her and her groom, and we saw multiple pairs of cheetahs while on safari. So as soon as I saw this design, I knew that I wanted to get it and stitch it specifically for her. And then when I bought the pattern, I saw that the Blue Flower is actually donating 100% of the proceeds. I believe 100% of the proceeds. Anyway, the proceeds from this design are going to an animal sanctuary that has a pair of cheetahs, which is what inspired the design. And I just thought that was an amazing thing, and I was happy to have contributed to that. I am excited to have completed this one. I think I'm going to turn it into a tiny pillow. I'm now obsessed with tiny pillows. Mainly, it's kind of now a joke between me and the bride. As we were traveling around Africa, we were in the minibus, and I did take some cross stitch with me to stitch. So she was very interested in my progress and teasing me about how quickly she was sure the pillow I was stitching was going to be made. We all know that it takes many hours to finish designs, even if they're this tiny. So it was a joke between us, but so I want to send her a cross-stitch pillow commemorating our trip and our time together. And so it is going to be very late for Christmas, but her anniversary is in March, so I think this will just be part of her first anniversary present package. And it's these beautiful cheetahs that can represent, you know, her and her husband. It could represent me and her and our time together, and I just think it's the perfect design for that. So I'm so excited to finish this guy and get it sent off to her. Okay, so here's another of my completed patterns. It is, let's see if I can get it. Oh, see, the color goes nuts when I get it closer. I'm sorry about that. But let me pull it back so you can kind of see it better true to color. Come on. Yeah, here we go. I have lights right here, and somehow it's something to do with the setting on the camera, I am aware. But So this is another of my completed patterns. It is a design from Luminous Fiber Arts. It's called a Purr-fect Christmas, and it features a gray kitty with orange eyes, which I have a gray kitty with orange eyes, so of course I had to grab this pattern and stitch it in honor of Fred, who is the baby of the cats. He's only 2.5 years old or so, a little less than 2.5 years old. And I stitched this on 18 count, 18 count Wichelt fabric in the color Serene. And I thought, so the color of this is like a really, really, really light mint. I thought it was going to be a bit darker, and I ended up stitching this whole piece, specifically the stocking, and then I had to unstitch or frog the stocking because the called for pattern has it in white, and because this fabric is so light, you couldn't really see it. And I kept telling myself, no, you're gonna be able to see it. And then I kept stitching, and then when I was done, I was like, no, you really can't actually see it. So I had to frog the whole thing, and I ended up stitching it in a kind of minty color too. I liked the look of it and just decided to stitch it in that color so you could see it. There was some contrast between it and the background fabric. I used all the called for colors with the exception of this switch for the mint, and then I also switched out the red for a red that I had in my stash. I have to put on the screen below which red I used for that. And yeah, so this was an over dye floss, and I think the rest was DMC. And yeah, I just like how it came together. It's really cute. It's gonna pair really well with the one that I did of the black cat. And so I like the other. I think I'm going to make it a little ornament, a little pillow ornament that'll go on the tree, and it'll pair nicely with, like I said, the black cat one. We have a third cat. Her name is Minnow. She's a Siamese. I started many years ago the Satsuma Street Christmas cat design, and I really loved it, and that was meant to represent her because she's like part Siamese. And I stitched it on 14 count Aida, which is not my favorite to stitch on. It wasn't stitched particularly well, but I was gonna press forward and try to continue it. And then when I sat down to try to stitch it again this year, I realized that the counting was all off, and so like the combination of all those things just made me decide to scrap that one, and I'll start over. And I already have the floss since I had started it before, and I ended up purchasing some red Aida, so I will get that going, and that will represent our third kitty cat, Minnow. But for now, we have the two boys, of course, and this was one of my completed projects from December. So like I said, I filmed December 31st and talked about everything as of December 31st, and so all of my graphics are designed as of December 31st, but I ended up completing one other pattern, and so I'm not changing the graphics or anything. I ended up actually completing 4 patterns and have 3 whips instead of vice versa, and this was the last one that I ended up finishing on December 31st. Let's see this guy. Isn't he so cute? I love him. Okay, so this is a pattern from Bad Stitch. It is their Christmas Fox pattern. It was part of their Patreon. I subbed for just this past month, to get this specific pattern because I thought it was really cute and sweet and adorable. And I'm probably just gonna stop my subscription there. I really like picking my patterns specifically. I don't know, having a lot of extra patterns overwhelms me, so I like to be very picky and very specific and intentional with patterns that I purchase. And so sometimes Patreon isn't the best for that because you do continue to get patterns and patterns and patterns, which is a wonderful thing, but yeah, just Patreon, not necessarily my preferred method of getting patterns, with one exception, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But so this is a Christmas box from Bad Stitch Patreon. I stitched this on 18 count Huntress fabric from Picture This Plus. I had just ordered a couple of extra fabrics in one of my 1, 2, 3 stitch orders, just to kind of see what the colors look like and if they would work for some of my projects. And this one came in, and I just think it's so beautiful. I'm a really big fan of purple and like magenta, and this tends to be a little bit more purple than magenta, but I love it. Like I said, I'm a purple person. I love it. So the call for in that pattern, I believe, was Brandywine, which is kind of like a mulled wine color. So yes, a red purplish color. This is probably more purple, and I think the colors on it work. The colors of the flosses chosen work really well on this fabric. I did one alteration, and at the top of the pattern it has the word joy. I switched out to fox because I'm sending this to a friend of mine whose last name is Fox, and I'm probably more obsessed with fox things than she is. But I love sending her little fox things, and so I thought this would be cute. And I'm trying to decide if I should make this into a pillow, or I think what I'm actually going to do is I have an extra 4x4 frame that I purchased to see if it would work for something else, but I think it's going to be really great for this pattern. And so I'm just gonna make it simple. I'm just likely going to mount this on some mat board and stick it in the frame and send it to her for her birthday, which is next week, I think. So that is what I'll be working on the rest of today. But so yes, I ended up completing 4 patterns, and I have 3 whips that I'm going to. Okay, so on to my whips. My first whip is in this beautiful, beautiful project bag. I adore this fabric. It is so pretty, and the reason why I picked this project bag, I know I got it from Etsy. Look, it even has a little charm on it. It's a sewing machine. Kind of see it. I got it from Etsy. I don't recall the Etsy shop off the top of my head, so I'll put it down here on the screen for you to go check them out. It is a good size project bag. It's not tiny or short, but it doesn't have that like foamy interfacing to make it like more stiff, so it does flop a little, just a little. It's not my preference, but it's such a beautiful bag. I use it and I love it. So the first whip I wanted to share is a design that I purchased from Lindy Stitches. It is her Snowflake and Stars pattern that she released in December. I think ahead of the Jingle Ball, or like just ahead of the Jingle Ball. Maybe it was part of the Jingle Ball, I'm not 100% sure. But this is my progress on it so far. And yeah, I'm sorry, it is not ironed. No plans to iron it because I'm done stitching on it for 2025, and I'll pick it up again late 2026 to work on it again, because I just think the design is so pretty. And yes, there's Santa on it, but he's not the dominant design. He's just around in the environment. And I love the design, so I immediately grabbed it. I used the called for flosses, which mainly are DMC, but I think there's like 4 or 5 of the fancy flosses, and Lindy Stitches had a bundle available for that. I don't know if it's still available or not, but I purchased those. I'm using all of the called for floss. The pattern was stitched on linen, and there was no equivalent DMC, so I went searching around on Lindy Stitches website and found this 18 count by Ju Design, XJU. I think that's how you say it. If I'm saying it wrong, I am so sorry. I'm sorry. But that's what it's called, XJU, Ju? and it is in the color Little Dove, and I really like it. It's a soft gray. It's maybe a tad bit darker than the gray that was used. The linen was a little bit lighter, but I think this is a good gray. If you have a favorite soft gray color, I would love to hear what you use. Specifically Aida, please. I'm not really interested in stitching on linen just now, but yeah, this is a good one, but I think the photo was a little bit lighter, so I'm just curious to see what is out there in terms of light, softer grays. But this is Snowflake and Stars, and I don't know how many stitches I have done on this. I think I'm probably only like less than 5%. I have a card that I created that I'll put up on socials, so you can see if you're really interested in how far my progress is there. But it was fun to start on this one and have a little bit going, and I will pick it up again next year. Okay, so my next whip is in this so freaking cute Santa bag. I loved this pattern. It's very like mid-century to me. I love that the Santas are multiracial. It's so cute. I believe this is from PT Bags, and I will link it down in the description so you can go check out that Etsy shop. Again, on Etsy, I love finding cute small vendors on Etsy to support. And so this is another of my whips. Oh, let me show you also on this bag. The inside is this like cute red and green polka dot. So sweet. Okay, so this is another work in progress. This is a design from Tiny Modernist. It was one of the exclusives available at the Jingle Ball this year from Tiny Modernist, and it was a mystery sal that came in 5 different pieces. And so the very first design, part of the design, the middle of the design, released in as part of the Jingle Ball. And I loved it. I love Tiny Modernist stuff. The swan is so sweet, so cute. I actually sent Cheryl an instant message and I was like, would you consider creating needle minders with like the middle parts of all of these, because the little animals are so sweet. There's a swan, I believe there's a fox, a hedgehog. I can't remember what the later pieces are because clearly I only got to the first part, but hey, I'm happy that I was able to complete that. I finished it within the like 3-day time, or I don't know, however many days between releases that she did. I finished this one before the second release came out, but then I fell off track with all of my other Christmas stitching that I did. But I love this one. I'm so excited to pick this up again next year. It is so sweet. Let me show you the floss. I forgot to do that earlier. I'm sorry about that. But I think it's all DMC. I believe it is all DMC. So this is the beautiful pattern, or not pattern, colors that are available as part of this design. So I like to floss drop my my floss if it's like a new skein that I haven't yet touched, and then if I'm able to pull from my stash of floss, which I don't have a really big floss stash. There's not a lot that I've bobbinated in the past, but if I do happen to have some that I had bobbinated in the past, I just include them here on the little binder ring. It's so easy to do that. I love that I can keep both together in one way. I just make my own little floss drop cards here. It's just some cardstock that I have in my stash. It's actually really heavyweight cardstock that I ordered on accident. I was like looking for like thicker cardstock, and this ended up being super thick, not great for scrapbooking or even really like printing out die cuts that you would then fussy cut, because it's pretty thick. But it's perfect for this because they're really sturdy. I don't have to worry that they're gonna rip or anything like that. I trim them down with my trimmer. I think they're like 2 by 1.5, 1.25 maybe, and then I just use a circle punch to punch 2 holes in it. And then because it's white and it's cardstock, it's really simple to write on there, you know, the DMC color, or if it's like a fancy floss, the name of the floss on there. So I really love that. But these are the colors for this beautiful design from Tiny Modernist. I'm stitching this, I forgot to say that, I'm stitching this on 18 count, my preference, Platinum Aida. Using a nerd hoop, which I'm gonna have to take this off at a certain point, but it's just been living on this hoop for a while now. And then I think this is a Flamingo Toes needle minder, this cute little bird. I was getting a needle minder from my mom, and I was like, why don't I pick one up for myself? And I love this little guy because it's somewhat like season agnostic. You can use it for many seasons, including as part of this winter forest sowl, because it looks like it could be one. I apologize if you can hear the drilling that's going on in the background. My husband is like filling in we took a window out of our house and he's filling it in with drywall, and we're gonna mount a bookshelf there because we've lived in this house almost 4 years and I've never had a bookshelf to put all of my books on, which if you know me is really crazy. I have a ton of books. I love my books. I literally picked our last home and the last apartment that we lived in based on the built-in bookshelves, and I haven't had a bookshelf in years. But I'm super excited that it's coming in, and so I apologize if you can hear like the random drilling in the background. Anyway, I'm on to my last whip to share with you guys. It's in this not cute but entirely functional bag, plastic bag that I have. I went and decided to start this pattern from Heartstring Samplery. It is called Hopper's Town, and it is based on Stranger Things. And I've actually stitched more on it since when I lost all that footage the other day, but this is my start to Hopper's Town. It has DMC floss and a bunch of other flosses, Weeks Dye Works, CCC, and DMC all in there. I'm stitching it on 18 count. Picture this plus fabric in the color Regency. Madison from Unfinished Stitches mentioned it or showed it in one of her videos, and she mentioned that it had like a slight green tinge to it, even though it's kind of like a creamy color with a green tinge to it. And as soon as she said that it had a green tinge, I was like, this would be perfect for this Stranger Things pattern that Heartstring Samplery did. So, I think if I said this was 18 count, I apologize. This is 16 count. I went to 123 Stitch and they only had 16 count available. I don't know if they even make 18 count. They may or may not. I'm not 100% sure, but 16 count works just fine. I honestly can't tell the difference between 16 and 18 really. They're both great, and so I went with the 16, even though 18 is my preference. And like I said, I can't really tell the difference as I'm stitching. They're pretty similar to each other. Here are all the beautiful flosses. It's such a great, like, mass of colors. There's like all the neutrals and then there's the brights, and a lot of these are flosses with some Weeks design. A lot of these are DMC with some Weeks design works, and then classic color works as well. So I have them flossed, and then the few that I pulled from my stash that had been bobbinated are all here together, and I really love them. I also have this really fun, beautiful grime guard that I got on Etsy again from the company So Much to Love. So is S-E-W, it's the letter 2, and I believe it's L-U-V on Etsy. So Much to Love. I'll link it in the description. I have this grime guard that I bought in this really awesome like fall pattern. It looks like it's like, it's one piece, but it's been printed to look like it's been, you know, pieced together. And I really love it. I think it's so pretty, but it's like a little bit wider than the grime guards that I'm used to. And since I needed to use as much of this fabric as possible, like I needed to get really far into the corners to make it work, I haven't put it on just yet because it's kind of in the way of the design, but as soon as I'm like kind of back into the middle of this, I will snap it on and use it as a typical grime guard. I have it in my bag because I know I want to use it. I just haven't used it yet, and I think it looks really great. I'm super excited with how this is coming out, and yeah, I love just seeing it come together. Like, this is Hawkins' lab here at the very top, and there's like a little Demogorgon and stuff. I'm a big fan of Stranger Things. I guess I'm a regular fan of Stranger Things. I'm not like a super huge fan of Stranger Things, but I really enjoyed the series and the season, and I just really wanted something to work on to commemorate that. So yes, in December of 2025, I fully finished, I'm gonna say 2 because I made multiples, 2 patterns. I finished stitching 4 patterns, despite what the graphics say, and then I had 3 works in progress. So I think I did a pretty good job of stitching in a busy month, that is December, and ended up getting you know, a good number of stitches in, a good number of projects worked through, and now I have just a little bit of finishing to do on some of those projects. So now I'm going to transition over into talking about my plans for 2026, and then also my plans for January. Okay, so I wanted to talk through some of my plans for 2026, and then also to whittle down into my January of 2026. I do this using my stitch planner, which I have shared a flip through about this. I believe it was Flosstube number 3. I don't know how to talk about this without being super wordy. So this section tends to be very long, and I apologize and don't apologize for that. But having filmed this, like I said the other day, without recording any sound, I've thought about how I can better talk this through with you all and be able to hopefully maybe make this a little bit shorter. Okay, so stitch planner, here's my little cover. I have in here, this is a quick overview, my project inventory, and these are little thumbnail photos of every single pattern I have purchased since the beginning of time. Again, I only started really focusing on cross-stitching as my main hobby this year, and then prior to 2025 and into 2024, I purchased a smattering of patterns throughout the years. So like basically everything from here backwards is pre-2025, which that's not a whole lot. 12, 15, 16 patterns before 2025, and then so many more in 2026. So this is just a quick flip through, and then I end up highlighting the ones that I have completed or have in progress in some way. I have my own little system for this. I'm still working on this, but this is just for me to be able to see all of the various patterns that I purchased throughout time, and what I have and haven't worked on. In this section, I added this just recently because I also want to do this for 25, just having a little image of the completed, either fully finished object or completed pattern to add here. So I'll print little pictures and add these throughout the year. And then I have a section for my goals, which is something that I want to go through today. And then I also have this kind of planning section where I am going through all of the patterns that I have, and I divide them up, not all the patterns, let me clarify, some of the patterns that I have, and I'm dividing them up by the season that I would likely want to stitch them in, because I am a seasonal stitcher. So everything on this front page is kind of a pattern that can be stitched any time of the year, regardless of the season, because mainly they're like travel or a UFO or cute animals, bookmarks, those kinds of things. Reading is evergreen for me. I can stitch reading at any point of the year. There's nothing really seasonal about that to me. So here are a bunch of my patterns that I can be stitching any time of the year. So I have them here. The colors mean nothing. It was just whatever page flag bundle that I had pulled to work with that day. And then I have them divided out, like I said, by season. So here are all the very winter specific patterns that I can be working on this winter, and I'm actually going to pull this guy off because Christmas Fox, as I showed you earlier, got finished. So I intended to work on this in January, but then went ahead and stitched it in December. So that one's done. I can take it off of the board. So this just shows me like roughly where I have the most patterns. I will always, and I know this about myself, always have more in the fall category than anything else, because that's just me. I love fall, and I don't have a lot in spring or summer, and I think that's great. And I think that gives me an opportunity to then focus on all of these can be stitched at any point in the year projects. So that's just one way that I keep track of them. So based on all of the patterns that I have, and each of these little flags represents one pattern, and then every one of these little flags also then has its own project page. And these are the project pages that I designed for my own personal use. I think I am going to plan to put these up in an Etsy shop soon. If they would be helpful to anyone else, that would be, I'm happy to have those available if you're interested in them. So I just wanted to show you like really quickly, like here are all of the designs that I have that are, that I feel that can be stitched at any point in the year, and then all of my winter ones. And you can see there's a little bit of a difference because as I've created these, I've like bettered them in many ways, and I've changed and switched things up. So some of them look a little different, but I didn't think it justified needing to print a whole new page, and I didn't want to waste anything. So they're still here even if they're a little bit older. So each of these little page flags represents a pattern. I put the pattern name and the designer, and then alongside each of these, every pattern has like a pattern or project page that I created. So these are all of the projects that I have that fall into the categories of any time of year stitching and or winter. I have so many of these that they don't actually fit in this binder anymore. I now have supplementary extra binders that I have to put some things away in, but I think this is fine to kind of rotate these pages in and out seasonally. That's one of the reasons why I like and prefer rings versus a notebook, because I can switch the order around and it's no problem whatsoever. So just to flip through quickly, these are some of the projects that I have started that are also the ones that I feel like I can be stitched anytime, that can be stitched specifically in winter. I have all of these projects that I am prepping for or planning for, that I have ready to go, or that I have patterns for that I would like to stitch in the future. So each of these has a little project page. And then I also have taken the time to kind of write out what I want to work on when. And so I've created these seasonal plans, and this is for seasonal planning at the start of the year, at the start of winter. And I apologize now that I think about this, this is mainly for the Northern Hemisphere, but January starts winter, with winter, and so I prefer to do things seasonally versus monthly, and that is just how that I have oriented these for myself. But here's a seasonal plan as we look at the beginning of the year and into the future. And so my plan is always to update these seasonally, aka quarterly at times. So this is for Q1 essentially. This is for Q2. So winter will have passed, but we'll be into spring. And it may or may not look like this. I may make changes. I may decide to do different things. And as the year progresses, I am still making plans for each of the seasons and updating them as they go, because it's not really tenable to set a bunch of plans together at the beginning of the year and then those plans not change or shift or morph in some way. So I like to be able to have that ready to go for later in the year when I've changed my mind or things become more priority or less priority for whatever reason. So in these seasonal plans, I have divided them up into 3 different categories. So the patterns that I want to start and finish, so the SAPs, the patterns that I want to start new, so that I will have going and ongoing, and these will be like a column of whips that I will be able to pick up throughout time going forward. And then also I'm planning to design some patterns and model stitch them. And I've been having so much fun stitching other people's patterns that I tend to do those first versus creating my own and stitching my own patterns. So I did wanted to make that more of a focus for this year. So be on the lookout for new patterns from me. I have plans to release some every quarter. But looking specifically at winter plans, let me just use this so we only narrow down into the winter. These are the projects that I want to focus on and that I think I'm going to be able to start and finish, either new start or model stitch over the course of the winter months. Winter months for me are December, January, and February. So it starts actually in 2025 and goes into 2026. So that's why you'll see that some of these start and finishes have already been completed because, like I said, December is the start of winter for me. So in terms of start and finishes, I wanted to start and finish a Purr-fect Christmas, which I did. Christmas Cheetahs and Christmas Fox, I also completed. And so now there are 2 more SAFs that I have to work on over the months of January and February, and those are Merit Badges and Otters in Love. So I have a page for each of those here. Then there's a bunch that I want to start new. So you saw Snowflake and Stars earlier. You saw Winter Christmas Ornaments earlier. You saw Hopperstown earlier. And then in addition to those that I have going, and I probably will not continue on with Snowflake and Stars and Winter Christmas Ornaments anymore this winter. Like I'll put these away because these are more Christmas focused and pick them up again in December. But I would like to continue working on Hopperstown and then also to pick up 2 new starts, and those would be Winter Animals and Reading Badger. So just to pull those out, let's see. I have these in a somewhat order, but here's Reading Badger. Isn't he adorable? Let's see if I can get him in focus. This is from Nathnalu. I already have all of the, I've got the fabric picked out, and I have all of the floss purchased as well, because on the back of these I can write out the specific DMC colors that this calls for, and I can either pull from my own stash, or if I don't have it, take this paper with me to my LNS or Michael's or one of these stores to get all of the skeins that I'm missing from my stash. So this is one that I'm planning to start and finish this year. Merit Badges, this is a new Patreon that I've just joined by Shaded Stitchery. I am such a fan of Nuri's work. I love her creations. I love the way she designs her patterns. I love the way she designs the pattern pages too. I love the look of her website. I'm just a big fan of Nuri's, and I really want to support her, and it was a no-brainer for me to see this, to see that she started her Patreon for me to jump on the bandwagon and go ahead and sign up and get these adorable badges that I can start stitching. So that's one of the, these are some of the SAFs that I want to work on this winter. Winter Animals from Stitchrovia. This is another one that I would like to get going this winter. And then Otters in Love here is from, it was not a compilation. What is the word I'm looking for? I'm not sure what word I'm looking for, but it was a project where multiple designers created a bookmark to be used, to be released all together. Amalgamation, is that the word? I don't think that's the right word either. Compilation, I guess, is maybe, I don't know. But anyway, it was a bunch of designers who designed their own bookmarks to include in this like package, and all of the proceeds of that went to charitable organizations, which I thought was really fantastic. And I went through the book, the quote-unquote book, and pulled 4 of the bookmarks that I wanted to start with first, because there was many beautiful designs, but I thought I would whittle down the first 4 that I wanted to focus on. And Otters in Love was absolutely one of the ones that I wanted to start with. It is so cute. I love how these guys look. So I think that pulls kind of all the projects that I'm thinking that I want to focus on in the winter months. And so what is remaining of winter, which is January and February, and then here are all the various projects that I want to do alongside that. So those are my seasonal plans. And then you see here that I also have plans for each month specifically. So based on the seasonal plans, I can write out my focus projects. Now, goals are something different for me than the projects I want to focus on. Goals include things like finishing projects, or completing patterns, or focusing on Christmas, or attending a specific events. Those are goals. And then based on the goals, I then pick projects that I want to focus on. So over the month of December, you see that I've accomplished everything that I set out to in terms of my goals and the projects that I want to focus on. So Snowflake and Stars is here, Winter Forest Ornaments is here, Perfect Christmas, Christmas Cheetahs, and then Button Up, the snow globes that I wanted to make. And then I'm also keeping track of my stitch count, what I stitched on when, and what I got to in the end. I actually need to add a little bit more because I stitched on Hopperstown on the 31st after I filled that out. But so I thought I could do on camera me filling out January, which may or may not be of interest to you, but I thought that it would be something that we could go through together. So number of projects in progress. And so these are the projects, I'm focusing only on the projects that I feel like I could do at any point in the year, and also the winter projects. So this guy I have started, the Cat Seville Gato Gomez, is in progress. It is my oldest whip at this point. So I definitely want to focus or do some work on here. This guy, Otters in Love, I think I'm gonna leave this for February, because I think that probably lends itself pretty well to February. In terms of seasonal goals, this was one of the projects that I listed, but I think I might hold off on this one only because, well, I'm only missing one of the flosses, but I think I'm not going to start this one until February as well. Merit badges, this is a staff that I wanted to focus on, as you saw in my seasonal plans. So let me put this into the January pile, because I think that I can get that going. Same with reading badges. I have everything that I need for reading badger, not to be confused with merit badges there. And then these are some of the other projects that I have that I'm just not going to prioritize just yet. I'm prepping some of these. Some of these are already prepped and kitted. But I think for January, oh, this one is my birthday start. So I have plans to work on my birthday start every month. So I'm definitely going to add that in here. Hopperstown, yes, I want to continue to work on that and have been working on Hopperstown. And then these two, yes, they are Christmas and winter, but I think I'm putting these away for the year. I will bring them out probably next December. So now that I have all of my specific projects to show you, I can write out the number of projects I have in progress. I have 1, 2, not yet, 3. So I have, well, let's just do 3 for now. Yeah, I have 3. So I've decided that I'm probably going to need to do an entire other video on my goals. So maybe look out for that. I might add that to the 2025 whip parade video, or not whip, finish parade. And then, so for now, I'm just going to continue to fill this out. And I've written out some goals that I'd like to accomplish in January, and that is for me to design and model stitch one pattern, to focus on my oldest whip, which is this the Cats of El Gato Gomez. I want to put in 520 stitches on it so that I can continue to work on that, because I really love this pattern. I want to see it to completion. I also want to focus on my birthday start, which is this gorgeous design from the Blue Flower called the Moonlight Sampler. My goal for this one, and I don't know if I'll continue to do it this way, but my goal was for me to start it on my birthday and then complete it by my next birthday. So, hi Fred. So I divided up the total number of stitches on this so that I can accomplish that, and I know that I need to stitch 2,160 stitches to get that done ahead of my birthday. Another goal that I have is to finish 2 projects. So these are the projects that I completed in 2025, which there are a number of them, and I want to get those finished up and have them as fully finished projects. So these are my priorities, and then based on the seasonal goals that the seasonal plans that I made, I want to start and finish 1 project, and I want to have a new start as well. So these are all the projects that I would then want to focus on. So my first goal is to design and model stitch. So I'm going to put in here design, and then I have a design in mind, so I will name this Folklore. And then I want to model stitch it potentially 2 ways. So earrings and then, in terms of just like straight stitching, here are all of the projects to focus on for that. So that's the Cats, Moonlight Sampler, Hopper's Town, Eating Badger, and Merit Badges. So that's a pretty good variety of projects to focus on for the month of January. So I have these, and then what I plan to design and model stitch to choose from. And then the last bit I'm going to put here are the 2 projects that I want to fully finish. And because there's some deadlines to meet in terms of birthdays and anniversaries, I'm going to choose those 2 to finish first. So we have the Christmas Fox, because that's for a January birthday, and then we have Christmas Cheetahs for an anniversary in March. And so that's what I plan to work on over the month of January. I have these little trackers that I created. I designed something to print on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then I stuck some Post-its in a few places there and reran it through the printer so that I have these Post-its that have an option in space to check off how far I've gotten towards completing these things. And then I have my stitching tracker where I'm keeping track of what I stitch when, so that by the end of the month I will know how many stitches I will have completed for January. this was somewhat convoluted, and again, it was still long. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why it takes me for, I don't know why I can talk about this stuff for so long, but I can. But I'm gonna go ahead and file all of these back in and wrap it up from here.